Hello traders and welcome to a new Ethereum price prediction video. In today's video we will be going over a three-tiered analysis of where I believe Ethereum will be going in the future. We will be using Elliott Wave Theory, Fibonacci's, volume, and sentiment. And we'll be going over both short-term predictions and also very long-term predictions so that we can predict all of the moves that occur within Ethereum. Today's video is a Patreon suggested video, meaning that this was the top rated video that I had on my Patreon. If you would like to suggest a video or vote on a future video, then you can check out my Patreon. Okay, so without further ado, let's begin with an Elliott Wave Theory analysis of Ethereum. So looking at the 4-hour for Ethereum in this current bear market, here's what I see. I don't see a 5-wave pattern like we did for Bitcoin. I see more of an ABC pattern or an ABC zigzag corrective pattern of the overall uptrend. Reason I see that is this looks to be like a wave 1 or a wave A, wave 2 or a wave B, wave C or a wave 3. And I can't really see how this would be a 5-wave pattern because this looks pretty crystal clear to me to be a 3-wave pattern. And beyond that, we can see that wave B of the ABC zigzag actually was at the 61.8 of a little bit above, but it was at the 61.8 of this overall trend, as you can see right here, and then price went back down. And additionally, looking at the ratios, we can see that wave A is just about equal to wave C, even though they're a little bit off. It looks like wave C and A are just about equal. And yeah, so I think that this ABC formation will likely have the endpoint here, and then we get this bullish market that will probably surpass Ethereum's high. That would make the most sense. I will say though, I know I've gotten comments in the past of, wait, you can't make two predictions because then you're always right. Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to make two predictions of prices going up or down. I am bullish right now, meaning I believe that Ethereum's going to go up. So that is, you can hold me to that. But here's one thing I do see. If this is not an ABC pattern, but rather this is a 5-wave zigzag, what that means is that the market likely is going to retrace 0.382. So let me draw that, of wave 3. So we can see that the market is at that 0.382. So if the market was to suddenly begin to move lower, and then lower and lower and below support, then what you'd probably be seeing is this is a wave 4, and then wave 5 is below. If that did occur, which I don't think is likely for this to be a 5-wave zigzag pattern downward, what you'd probably see is Ethereum bottoming out at 400. 400 has major resistance, as you can see here, 2 resistance points there, and that would make sense for the future point of powerful support. And if price does begin dropping below support here, I think 400 would be a beautiful spot to buy Ethereum. Yeah. And if I was to draw a Fibonacci extension, you can see here that the 161.8 is around 400. It's at 390, which is just around 400. Again, I am bullish on this because I see this ABC zigzag that's likely to turn into a bull market. I'm just saying that if the market was to move below support, that 400 would be likely to end the bear market in a 5-wave pattern. Okay, we have gone over the Elliott Wave Theory part. Now let's talk about some Fibonacci values. So to start off with, let's go to the very long term. So let's go to the 1 week for Ethereum. I know it's basically just vertical. Let's get the low and the high and see what the 61.8 is. So you can see the price just shied away from that 61.8. And that is pretty bullish in the market. Typically you see the market piercing the 61.8 or at least touching it. Here it didn't even get to touch it. But it still shows that the 61.8 was respected as it was not pierced. And price went immediately back upward like that. So Fibonacci-wise, this does look quite bullish. Now let's go back to the 4-hour and look at some Fibonacci extensions. So if we look at some minor and some major extensions, we can see that this price level does make a lot of sense. If I go from here to here, just on a major, the 127.2 extension was hit. If I isolate this move here, just this leg to this leg, you can see that the 161.8 was hit as well. Let me delete these so it doesn't get too cluttery. Again, all I'm doing with this is I'm I'm just picking those individual moves, like this individual market stage, and this one, to try to see where those Fibonacci retracements, extensions lie. That 127.2 got hit as well. And then on the very, very short term, you can see that this 161.8 was respected, as you can see right there. So we do have a lot of Fibonacci confluence for this price level support of 600. We have the 61.8 on the super long-term trend. We also have the 127.2. We have a 161.8 and a 161.8 here. So Fibonacci-wise, this does look quite bullish and looks like the beginning of a new uptrend. Now let's talk about volume, and then we're going to talk about sentiment. Volume-wise, I'm going to label Ethereum as semi-bullish. I'd say bullish, kind of bullish, like semi-bullish, neutral, semi-bearish, bearish. I'm going to label this semi-bullish for two reasons. One, the volume spike that occurred at this support level was just about as high as it was here and here. It's nothing too major. It's just about average. Additionally, as price has been going upward, volume has been going downward. Typically, that's a pretty bad sign for the beginning of an uptrend. So volume-wise, it's semi-bullish because I think that I'm going to show you sentiment-wise is why it's very bullish. But volume-wise, it's semi. Typically, when we see a major reversal before a major uptrend, you're going to see a volume spike like that. That is a major, major volume spike right there compared to other values. And that is the lowest point that uptrend had ever been to, ever since that point, because of that volume spike. And it also occurs here as well, as you can see, and there too. Major volume spikes here, that propels price upward. Major volume spikes here as well. So yeah, this doesn't look too major, and the falling volume is not a beautiful sign. Yeah. Sentiment looks quite beautiful for Ethereum. What does that mean? Well, this green line and this red line, what do they represent? Well, this green line represents the total amount of Ethereum held in long positions on Bitfinex. The red line tells us how many Ethereum are held in short positions in Bitfinex. Bitfinex does allow you to short because they reside outside the U.S. and are outside the U.S.'s margin restrictions. And that's why that we see some people are short Ethereum. For those who don't know what sentiment, they know what sentiment is. It's just data positions, but they don't really know how to use it. Let me give you just one simple rule of thumb that you can use to use it profitably. We can see that long sentiment is clearly dropping. We went from a high of about 300,000. You can see that number right there, to about a low. Right now we're around 100,000. So we've had a loss of about 2/3, by my math, in long positions. That's bullish. That's a very, very good sign in the market. And I know that some traders who might not know sentiment as well when they're making price predictions might say that that's a horrible sign. But think about it this way. If you have, and I've given this example a million times, if you've heard this before, you might just want to skip 30 seconds. But if you haven't, this can be really helpful. If you have 100 traders in a room, and every single one of those traders sells something, sells the asset, can the price go any lower? No. The price can't go any lower because there's no more sellers. Everyone already sold. If 100 people in a room, every single one of those traders commits all of their capital and buys all they can of an asset, can the price go any higher? No. The price can't go any higher because there's no new buyers. That would be overbought. And the example I listed below is oversold. This seems to be a point of very, very oversold in the market. A lot of longs have dropped out. Shorts have remained just about stagnant, but we see a slight increase in shorts here, which shows us that opening short positions, they might become trapped, which is good for us if we're bullish. And now we see longs dropping off quickly and then longs increasing very quickly here in the very, very short term. What's going to happen is if this market does continue to move upward, many of these traders who exited positions of Ethereum might actually just buy back in due to fear of missing out. That's one popular way that you can use sentiment, is that when you see a large drop and then you in long sentiment and then you see price begin to move upward, you can expect that many traders don't want to miss out on a trend and are going to buy back at any cost, and that's going to begin to increase that sentiment, and also it's going to increase price. And if you buy now, of course I'm not recommending to buy or sell now. That is not what I'm doing. But if you were to buy now and then these guys were to buy after you, that's exactly what you'd want. You'd want these guys to have fear of missing out, get greedy, buy back in, push the price higher. Because we always want to buy before everyone else buys. And we want to sell before everyone else sells. That's the ultimate goal of any day trading method, is going to try to get you to do that. And if a day trading method is not trying to get you to buy before everyone else buys or sell before everyone else sells, then it's probably not the soundest. And that's why sometimes moving averages can be a little bit tougher in the market, because moving average crossovers typically occur when many people have already bought into a market. You can still use them, of course, but that's one example of when a lot of people buy into a market. But yeah, so I would say sentiment is very bullish. Yeah. Elliott Wave Theory, I would say that the prediction I made for this Elliott Wave here, I would say that's neutral bullish, semi-bullish, I would say, because this could be a 5-wave downward, or this could be beginning of a new uptrend. I think there's a higher percent chance that this is a new uptrend, but if price doesn't make any new highs and begins to crawl downward, that's not a good sign. That's a sign that price might go below support. Volume, again, doesn't look fantastic, but does look good enough to begin a short-term uptrend into here. And then maybe volume picks up as price goes higher. And then that would signal the beginning of a powerful uptrend that's going to break resistance. Yeah, so my final verdict, using all these analyses together with sentiment, looking at volume, looking at Elliott Wave Theory, and looking at Fibonacci's, I would say bullish on Ethereum. I think that at the current price point, there's not too much reason to be very bearish unless price begins to crawl down. And then I would say that you might want to rethink your position. Okay, now let's go on to the long term. Let's say the price actually turns bullish, like I predict, and breaks above resistance. Where do you expect price to head towards? Well, we would expect a Fibonacci extension to be the answer to that. That level would be about 2,000, which makes sense because it's a round number as well. And it's a major round number too, being 3 zeros, 2,000. So if price does move up, I would expect that price is going to probably move up to here. It would make a lot of sense if the price was to move up to around 1650, like this. Price breaks above resistance, goes a little bit above 1650 to probably around 1700. Goes back down to, retouch previous resistance that will likely become future support, and then uses that to finally go higher. That would make a lot of sense in the market. Yeah, so I'm expecting in the next few months, if Ethereum is bullish, which I think it is, 2,000 should be a really, really, really good target level. Okay. Now let's go back on the super, super long-term trend. I would say that just like for Bitcoin, it actually looks like these cryptocurrencies are just beginning their Elliott Wave major sequences. And why I say that here is, if we look here, this looks like a wave 1 and a wave 2 to me. If I'm just going to draw this crudely, not completely accurate, but pretty close. Wave 1, wave 2, and that typically leads wave 3. Elliott Wave Theory-wise, if wave 1 is to equal wave 3, or if wave 3 is to be 1.618 times wave 1, well, we know that the high for Ethereum was about 1425. So what we'd want to do is add 1425 to the low of wave 2, of course. And the low of wave 2 is 565. So it would be 565 plus 1425, which is 1990, which is just about 2,000. I actually didn't even do that math before, I promise. I just thought that out right there. And if you guys remember what I just talked about for 2,000, that level is the 161.8 extension of wave 2. And if wave 1 was to equal wave 3, then 2,000 is indicated as the exact point of likely resistance. So that's even more confluence that 2K is going to be the next price target for Ethereum. So yeah, let me actually just draw it to make it a little bit prettier. So here's, let me just put it here. Like I'd said, 1700, 1650 to around 1700 is probably going to be the first target for price, and then price is likely to move back down. This is the short term again. And then price is likely to hit up to that 2K level right here. And then we're probably going to see major resistance at that 2K, where price, goes much lower. So that is the individual Elliott Wave Theory analysis. And like I just said with the more long-term Elliott Wave Theory analysis, it looks like we're beginning Wave 3, where Wave 3 is going to end at 2K. Now if I'm going to go really long-term, just to check back in a few years to see if I was right or not, if Wave 3 does end at 2K, with Wave 1 equaling Wave 3, Wave 4, as we know, typically retraces 38.2% of Wave 3. So if we do that math right now, if we draw an imaginary Elliott wave, so we would start here, and of course we would end at 2K. Perfect. Oh yeah, that's exactly what that's crazy actually. I don't know if you guys see this, but the 38.2 is at the very top of resistance here. If price was to turn bullish, go up to 2K, and then come back down, that 38.2 retracement is 1452, which is the top, just about the top of resistance here. And that'll make sense of all this is coming together now. That makes sense. So that would probably be your Wave 4, and then Wave 5 would probably be a 1.618 extension of Wave 1. Reason I say that is if Wave 1 equals Wave 3, typically the last wave is going to be a 1.618 extension. So that would be 1.618 times 1425 plus this, because this would be the end of Wave 4, the beginning of Wave 5. And I'm not going to do that math now of 1.618 times 1450, times 1425, plus this right now, but it would be a high number, I can tell you that. Yeah. So I think that's going to be it for this video. We've gone over the more shorter term analysis of where I think Ethereum is quite bullish. And then we went over the more longer term analysis, looking at that 2K level for very strong resistance. And then once price hits 2K, it's probably going to go back down to 1425 to 1450, because a 38.2 retracement of Wave 3 is typically your Wave 4. And then Wave 5 is probably going to be going upward from 1425 to a high number, like I had said. So that's what I believe will happen for Ethereum. Yeah, if you have any concerns, questions, or comments in the video, then you can leave below. And I also just created a new website where I teach traders how to apply different market techniques and how to build a strategy. And if you're interested, it is going to be the link below, but it's called BitcoinTradingPractice.com. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.